Hello, welcome to Word Crumbs. We are on the 31st week of Ordinary Time. So just 3 weeks short of the end of the liturgical year. If you remember, Christ the King marks the end of the liturgical year, and then we begin Advent to start a new year in the church calendar, according to the church calendar. So we're almost there. And the Gospel of Luke continues to accompany us in this ordinary time in the church liturgy to help us to deepen our understanding of our Christian discipleship with Jesus. So just to go straight to the 31st week, this week the gospel, or at least the ordinary liturgy, apart from the feast that we have been celebrating this week, All Saints, All Souls, but in the ordinary liturgy of the weekdays, we are coming to what some Bible commentators would call the core or the crux of the Gospel of Luke, and the parables of mercy. Luke chapter 15 is the main theme of this week's liturgy, and we have perhaps heard about it before, that these talk about the three parables of mercy of Jesus. In Luke 15, it begins by saying the tax collectors and sinners were all crowding round to listen to him. So the sinners, basically, the outcasts, etc. And the Pharisees and scribes, the religious leaders, complained, saying, "This man welcomes sinners and eats with them." So that is when he begins to tell his three parables of mercy. Now the readings of today, which is Thursday of the 31st week, focus on the first two parables of mercy, the parable of the lost sheep and the parable of the lost coin, or drachma in some Bible versions. And once again, I invite you to try to read it, or we can listen to it together in Luke 15, Luke 15, verse 4 to verse 10. Luke 15, 4 to 10. It's just very short, and it can take just a short time to read, reflect on it, and to allow the words to speak to us. Now, if you have read the passage, it'll be very striking, certain things, and perhaps some common points you can find between the two parables. There could be points of reflection. I'm just going to share a few, two things from here, maybe three. So, the two things that are very common, or are common in these two parables, are firstly the interest of the person for each one, for each sheep, for each coin, that in fact, and how it shows God's interest for each one of us, each person, no matter who they are, no matter how sinful or how righteous they may seem. So it says here, in the first part, it's a very interesting question that can make us think as well. Which one of you with 100 sheep, Jesus says, if you had 100 sheep and if you lost one, which one of you would fail to leave the 99 in the desert and go after the missing one till he found it? Jesus says, which one of you would not do that? And I think if we really think about it, we would say, which one of us would do that? We have 99 assured in our flocks, and just one leaves. I think most of us would just stay with the 99, keep them safe, and leave that lost one. So Jesus tries to question our own logic about people, about sinners even. Would we just stay with the righteous ones? Would we just stay with the ones who are already in church, already religious in that sense, already close to God? Or would we go for that lost one who's out there? So there's this sense of interest of Jesus for each one, not just the good ones, the goodies, or the holy people already, but those who really need God. So this interest for the lost one, for each one, which is reflected in the parable of the lost coin. So each coin was important to this woman, who lost the coins. So the first was that, the interest of Jesus for each one, no matter and especially if they are lost. And second, the second aspect that is common in the two passages is the joy of finding the lost one, the joy of the shepherd in encountering the lost sheep, the joy of the woman who finds the lost coin, and both of them call their neighbors to celebrate with them. Hey, I found the lost one after all those efforts. The joy of finding someone and bringing the lost one back in that sense. So here, Jesus tells these parables of mercy to help us to realize that the real joy of a Christian, the real joy of Christian mission or Christian existence, is to bring a lost person, a lost soul, back to God. That gives us fulfillment, that gives us true happiness. So this somehow contrasts a certain way of thinking about happiness, which is very focused on what I have, if I achieve everything I wanted. There are different ways of considering happiness. And Jesus is saying, well, if you want to learn from me, true happiness is to look for the lost one and then bring them back to God. So if you remember, I said there'd be two things, but maybe three, because there's one very interesting detail about the parable of the lost sheep that I just like to mention. And it's the joy of putting that sheep on his shoulders. The shepherd was happy to carry the burden of that lost one on his shoulders. And this is very telling about the spirit of mercy that we are supposed to have as Christians, and that Christ had with us as well. So he goes for the lost one, and if we have experienced ourselves being lost at certain points of our time, of our lives, Jesus carried us home. So not only was he interested in each one of us to bring us back, not only did he rejoice when he got us home, but he rejoiced in the process of bringing us home, the process of bearing our burdens. He rejoiced joyfully. He brought back the sheep. That's in verse 5. No, if you want to take a look, verse 6. So there is something about the quality of love, the quality of mercy as a Christian that Jesus challenges us to discover, not just to force ourselves to it, but to discover, which is the joy of carrying the burdens of a lost one in bringing them home. So once again, now these kind of 2 or 3 aspects that summarize the core of Christian life, the core of Christian motivation, which is the joy of bringing a sinner home. The joy of mercy, in other words. Now, I'd like to just invite you also to ponder a little bit more in the application of mercy. What does it mean to show mercy? Does mercy just mean overlooking all the faults of the other? Surely that's part of it. Is mercy confined to forgiveness, or is mercy something more than just forgiving? Because some of us might equate, myself, we tend to equate mercy with forgiveness. But I think when we look at the overall Gospel of Luke, we will notice that mercy is much more than just forgiving. So somehow forgiving is just the first step. A very big and challenging step, but it's the first step only. And Pope Francis himself said in a document called Misericordiae Vultus, or the Face of Mercy, during the Jubilee Year of Mercy, if you remember, he says in number 21, forgiveness is just the first step, but there's another path that mercy brings the person to change. So mercy isn't just saying, it's okay, it's fine, just start again. But there are concrete things that we invite the person to in order to grow. And sometimes in the church, we use a word that many people may not like, and that's penance. Penance is not punishment. Penance is part of mercy. Penance is what we receive from the church to teach us how to change after we are forgiven. So let us try to ponder a little bit more what it means when we say that the core of Christian faith is mercy. is not just to forgive, but is to help a person to walk that path of going home to God. So, if for those who are very attentive to the year of mercy, you'll realize that in that year, Pope Francis invited us to think about works of mercy. So, to ponder what are real works of mercy, so that we can really carry out that mercy, put it into practice, and not just let it remain as a matter of feelings. Because mercy, to be merciful, is more than just to feel for that person, it's to do concrete things. So he spoke about the corporal works of mercy and the spiritual works of mercy. Now, I won't go into detail into all this in this short video. I invite you to just Google it. Okay? It's all there today, to try to look at what are the 7 corporal works of mercy. Means corporal meaning physical works of mercy, and the 7 spiritual works of mercy, meaning those are not physical, but that are more interior. Try to Google it and see the differences, and I invite you, with the reflection of Pope Francis just a little bit, to try to understand the purpose of both the corporal and the spiritual works of mercy. Now, in summary, what I would say Pope Francis tried to explain about the roles of these 2 kinds of works of mercy is that the physical or the corporal meaning bodily, works of mercy are meant for others. And the spiritual works of mercy are meant for us to change. So one is to help others so that they may have the possibility to change, but the other spiritual works of mercy are meant to help us, we ourselves, to change as well. So in somehow there's that external change and there's that interior change, if you like. So the external change, for example, the works of physical or corporal works of mercy are like feeding the hungry. In Matthew 25, you'll find them all there, no? Feeding the hungry, clothing the naked, visiting the sick, visiting those in prison, burying the dead. So all these are physical, and it helps others in a material way. It helps others to improve their lives, because when we are too poor, it's very difficult to change our own lives. So what we are doing with the corporal works of mercy are giving people the physical possibilities to change. But according to Pope Francis, they do little for our own personal or interior change. So here is where the spiritual works of mercy are important as well. And as I said, the spiritual works of mercy, the 7 of them, will help us to see that is more than just forgiving. I'll just enumerate them, and you will see. It says, the spiritual works of mercy to instruct the ignorant. So it's not just to forgive them, it's to instruct them, to counsel the doubtful. So maybe some people just don't know, so we need to tell them what's right, what's wrong sometimes. No? Even though it might seem that everybody should know, sometimes we really don't know. Okay, so instruct the ignorant, counsel the discouraged or the doubtful. Some people are just doubtful whether they should change, whether they could. So counseling, in a sense, is like encouraging them, giving them hope that it is possible to change if they are doubtful. Okay, so some people know already, but they're still doubtful interiorly whether it's really possible to change. And of course, the third is admonishing sinners. Now, this sounds very different from forgiveness, because many times when we think about mercy, we think that it's just to console people and say that it's okay. It's okay, God loves you, God forgives you, just start again. Well, not always. Sometimes, according to the tradition of the church, sometimes we need to admonish, we need to contrast, we need to correct behavior, and to say the truth, to say things as they are, so that people might realize, we ourselves might need to realize that we are doing something wrong. So that is also a way of helping someone to change. And the fourth, to comfort the sorrowful, which is perhaps a more obvious act of mercy, consoling, giving encouragement, comforting Those who are sorrowful because maybe they suffer physically, maybe they suffer morally or even spiritually. So that's the fifth. And then that's the fourth. And the fifth is, of course, to bear with wrongs patiently. So that's part of the spiritual works of mercy. Now that part really touches us. When we bear with wrongs, like Jesus on the cross, he bore with the wrongs done to him patiently. That is part of our own interior growth of the joy of carrying the burdens of others, as the Good Shepherd did, not on ourselves, on our own shoulders. So that's a bit more the mysterious part of it. And of course, number 6 is there. Forgive injuries done to you. So this is one of the works of mercy, a very crucial work of mercy, but just one of them, to forgive. You know, somebody once told me, an elderly lady, she's always repeating the same things, but sometimes, the elderly have a lot of wisdom about life. And she used to say, life is not perfect. We need to forgive a lot. Life is not perfect. People are not perfect. Situations are not perfect. And many times we need to forgive. And to forgive a lot, because these things will keep coming. And if we're not conscious of the need to forgive, as Jesus did on the cross, sometimes we keep carrying the injuries, the wounds, the offenses that people did to us or to people close to us, and we're not able to work out the other works of mercy. So somehow forgiveness is not the be-all and end-all of mercy, but it is the key. And when we forgive, then we are able to show mercy in all the other ways, to admonish the sinner, to instruct the ignorant, to counsel the doubtful. It's also necessary, not just to forgive, but the starting point is mercy. And of course, the last one, to pray for the living and the dead. So how can we grow in forgiveness? Many times is by prayer, praying for the person first. Those who have died, so they can't possibly change here on earth, but those who are still alive, who have the possibility still to change, the best way to grow in a sense of mercy and forgiveness, the will to forgive them, is by praying for them. So once again, I hope that was helpful to understand what it means that the core of our Christian existence, or the core of Christian mission, is mercy. Mercy is really much more than forgiveness, but forgiveness is truly the key in order to show mercy and to continue showing mercy. It's easy to start, but to continue requires forgiveness. So today, let us pray for this sense of the essentials of our Christian faith. Christianity entails a lot of things, but what the core of the Gospel of Luke, the parables of mercy in chapter 15, remind us is that we always have to keep in mind, whatever we do, we need to share this spirit of mercy, which is the joy of reaching out to the lost one, to each one, and the joy of carrying their burdens and bringing them home to God.